Crash Course World History. I'm Michael, and today we'll be discussing sort of changes and continuities that occurred as Spain colonized and took over the New World. And with me today are my friends Connor, Tim, Andy, Ben, and Kevin. So, before the Spaniards came to America, the Aztecs got to constantly practice their religion. The religion consisted mainly of sacrifice, building temples to their gods, and studying the skies for symbolic and religious meaning. When they built these temples, they often had a whole bunch of labor given for free by the members of society, which they owed just as being part of the society. There would even be reenactments of important religious events, which would involve actually killing people. However, when the Spaniards came to America, they brought with them Christianity, and they tried to force that on every Aztec who they hadn't already killed or enslaved. The difference in religion was also why the Spaniards decided to treat them all like animals. And the Christians continue to do this today. When the first Spanish explorers came to the Americas, they really shook up the whole political thing going on there. Disease greatly weakened the populations, but even greater were the deaths of the rulers from the diseases. By the time Cortez got to them, they were completely divided up. Due to the rulers being dead, they were very politically divided, and so as a whole they were much weaker, so Cortez had a much easier time taking them out. Because of the political division caused by the disease, all the people who became the subjects of the Aztecs decided to revolt, because the Aztec power wasn't as strong anymore. However, the 150,000 tons of silver they brought in actually caused them a bit of trouble later on. Their currency went nearly worthless. Speaking of economics, the New World brought in many goods and other commodities. Some of these commodities included slaves, Native Americans from the real world. The Indians were barely given enough to live, and they were forced into many public service projects. The encomienda allowed Spain to keep power over the Indians, and their land claims allowed them to have a constant flow of both money and resources. Socially, the Aztecs were very limited by Spain's takeover. When they had been accustomed to living a very affluent life, they became very impoverished, forced to labor constantly for Spain's well-being. While the slaves are at the bottom, the Indians who are free are slightly above them. Then above them are the mestizos, who had Spanish blood and American Indian blood. Interesting. Next were the Creoles. Now, they were Spanish, but they had 1/8 or less American Indian blood, which lowered their social class. And at the top were the Peninsulares. Now, these guys, they were at the top. Full Spanish blood. Permanent citizens. Oh, it's time for the open letter. Aztecs, why am I writing you a letter? You don't understand English or have real pants, but I really need to know. Why did you have to die so easily? You guys were pretty cool with your floating cities and monuments and stuff. I really think you shouldn't have fought each other so much. They really used your hate for one another to kill you. In the end, it wasn't all your fault. They just had better weapons and diseases than you all. European guns, steel swords, smallpox, cowpox, typhus, measles, and cholera. They were just too much for you guys. At least you gave them syphilis. Fondest regards, Michael. Let's see what's in the secret compartment. Oh goody, it's smallpox. I thought you were eradicated. How did you get out of the CDC? Anyway, it's nice to see you, and it's such a surprise. You know, the last time I heard of a surprise this big was when you killed all the Aztecs. It's a shame you had to go so soon. Now we're going to the thumbnail. Many colonists worked in gold and silver mines and plantations. They grew many new crops and used animals like cattle, oxen, and horses that they brought over from Europe to help them. The new cities couldn't attract enough workers, so they started to enslave the native Indian people. The slaves worked all day and night with very little food and rest.